and it's Energumene opening up a clear advantage in the closing stages. A breath of fresh air over fences is going to stay at the helm of the 2 mile novices. Energumene by.
Boylesports has it all. Money back meetings every day. UK and Irish racing live streaming. Extra places and money back all losers offers. And a bet 10 get 40 welcome offer. Boylesports, this is betting.
So, hello and welcome back to the Champ.ie podcast, episode number 49 for the season. It's Punchestown Day 2 before we've even got started with Day 1, Mr. Groome. We're recording here on Tuesday morning, obviously looking ahead to Wednesday, Punchestown Day 2. And we're going to kick it off, Mr. Groome, with what is a nice little juicy handicap hurdle. 25 runners in total. The Adair Manor Opportunity Series final handicap hurdle over 2 miles and 4 furlongs. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, nice tricky one to start off. I'll fall over here. I narrowed it down to 2, Basil. I like Gavin Cromwell's horse, La Mal Masson, and my old friend Ballybon Belter, the mare as well. I'll start with both mares. My apologies. La Mal Masson is mare as well. Gavin Cromwell's mare, she's nice form now. She's second to a horse called Saphura over the course and distance back in January. That's decent form. That horse went on to win a Grade 3. She only has 3 runs. And I think she could be nicely handicapped off a mark of 122. Ballybon Belter won the big Mayor's Handicap Hurdle at Dublin Racing Festival. And I think that was decent enough race. The British handicapper certainly thought it was a good race because he gave the second there, Historique Raconte, the biggest rise of all the Irish horses going over to Cheltenham. So he rated it quite highly. Ballybon Belter went on to run in the 2 mile handicap hurdle, the Rybo at Ferryhouse, and I just think Liz Doyle was caught between 2 minds there, going back to 2 miles or going up to 2.5. It just got done for pace. Coming back up to 2.5, I think she's a good stare, and I'd give her another chance as well. I think she might be a little underrated by the market when we do get prices here. So they'd be my 2 against the field, Basil.
Yeah, really competitive. 25 runners, just to plug. Obviously, you'll see 8 races on the screen, of course. Get in your selections to qualify for the Boylesports Chalice, the draw, which will be, of course, on Thursday for Wednesday, because we'll just have to see who wins the races. 3 winners or more qualify for the draw. 348. Look, 25 runners, Mr. Groome. Over 10 handicap debutants. You've mentioned one there, La Maison. Obviously, she'd have to be high on the list. Gavin Cromwell, a master at these big handicaps. So it's wide open. No major strong opinion for me or fancy in this particular race. I narrowed it down to 10 and have narrowed that list down once again to 2. And the one that I suppose catches the eye the most for me is Big Debates for Rob Tyner, who absolutely loves a Punchestown winner. And just looking at, I suppose, Big Debates, he's been in really good form this year. He's a 10-year-old, but he's a lightly raced 10-year-old. He's only had 22 starts in his career. And I suppose looking at the improvement he's made over fences this year, I mean, he went up a total of 16 pounds over fences. He obviously won at Ferryhouse on yielding to soft ground. So I don't think the ground is going to be an issue. And I just think it could be well treated off his hurdles mark of 114. I think if you got a double figure price about Big Debates, you might get a decent run for your money. I think the horse is in good form this year and the scope off his hurdles mark, in my view. The other one to mention is Peter Fahey is 2 in here, but the one I like is Butterfly Vespier. I think might just have been saved for this particular contest. She's a mare. She hasn't had too many runs over smaller obstacles, 7 in total. And she was a winner at Listowel on good to yielding ground over 2.5 miles. And I just think they might have had this in mind for her. Her mark of 116, I did think that there's scope off that. And Eamon Fitzgerald takes 4 pounds off. She's right down the bottom of the weights. That's Butterfly Vespier, number 19 on the race card. But Big Debates will be my main one for the 340 for Robert Tyner, a man who loves a Punchestown festival winner, as we know.
Download the Boylesports app and receive generous offers for new and existing customers. Boylesports, this is betting.
Race number 2, Mr. Groome, is the 4:15. It is the Red Mills Irish EBF Auction Hurdle Series final over 2.5 miles. And I suppose, I don't know about you, but I'd be surprised if there was a shock in here.
Yeah, I don't think so, because we've got two very good horses and one potentially very good horse, all towards the top of the market. Like Sander Clegane and Three Car Bragg could be going for the 3 mile Grade One. Like, obviously, I'd be well up to that and be like considered big contenders for that race. But they've come here because they're qualified for this race, and it's a valuable contest. 75 grand is up for grabs, so you can see why Connections have decided to come back here. They're both coming back down in trip. After running big races over in the Albert Bartlett. Sander Clegane especially was put it right up there to Stay Away Faye, and Three Card Bragg just in behind him as well. So they set the standard here. I just wondered, the senior chief, a little less exposed, didn't go to Cheltenham, and is formed to beat Landrake last day. I don't know if you saw that race, but he got to the front. I didn't think he was doing a tap once he got to the front, and the pair of them become 10 lengths clear of horse WillieMullins called Paul Marvel, I think it was. That like puts him in the ballpark of where these other two are. Not a million miles away from their ratings. I was hoping for a better price, so I probably will just leave it.
It's a scandalous price at the moment, 3-1. I have to.
Yeah, just too short. I was hoping that he might be a little bit. The other two would take up a good chunk of the market. I could see him drifting out from that price, but he'd have to drift a good bit now for me to get involved. I just wanted to point him out. And as you said, I can't really see much else getting into it from here. I think there's a lot of lowly rated horses just taking a chance in this race because the prize money is good and would have been targeted at this race, but they're kind of up against it here now with the two good, solid Grade One novices up there at the top of the market. And I think it'll probably come down to between the two of them.
Yeah, I think certainly it is a match, Ronan. Between the two, Sander Clegane and Three Car Bragg. I think there's a lot more in Sander Clegane's favour. In terms of, obviously, he's getting £2. He's officially rated higher, finished ahead of Three Car Bragg in the Albert Bartlett. I think stepping back in trip is going to suit him that little bit more than Three Car Bragg. He was ridden quite patiently and shaped very well in the Albert Bartlett, Sander Clegane. So I think coming back in trip is probably going to suit him. The ground drying out, the Norwegian weather forecast is telling us all sorts of things. It was telling us it was going to be a dry week. Then yesterday morning we had bags of rain. And now it's telling us it's going to be dry once again. So I think drying out by Wednesday is going to suit Sander Clegane. And I also look at his course record. Obviously, he's 2 wins at the course, so he likes Punchestown. I thought if you were getting, 6-4, anything bigger about Sander Clegane, I thought it was more than fair. Top 2, as you say, take a big chunk of the market. Three Car Bragg, I'd say, would want the rain to fall. And I think there's lots more in Sander Clegane's favour than Three Car Bragg. So I would be with Paul Nolan's charge here. And yeah, I think it's a match, and I think he comes out on top. So we will move on to the 4:45, and it is, of course, the Louis Fitzgerald Hotel Hurdle over 2.5 miles. And I was just looking at here, 9 runners in total. What did you make of this one?
Tricky little heat, Basil. I can imagine is there who ran a big race over in the Martin Pipe. Danny Gilligan's taking the ride and him taking £7 off. You're going to see a lot of this fella this week. He just hit form last week. I think he had about 5 winners last week, and Gordon's starting to support him now as well, taking the £7 off. So that's interesting there. That's an advantage to him, I guess. The one I was interested in was the one right down the bottom, Tagman. Henry de Bromhead, Rachel Blackmore. He has a bit to find now. He's beaten 25 lengths by Found a 50 over 2 miles at Fairyhouse last time. But if you go back to his second last run, he was second to Goodland at Leopardstown. That was a big run, and that race has worked out well. I think Embassy Garden was in 4th, and that was over 2.5 miles. So he's coming back up that trip, and he gets weight from everything here, £6. So in a tricky little heat, like you have the likes of Grange Clare West there. What's he going to do? Big expectations for him earlier in the season, and just hasn't lived up to it. And you horses like Port Stanley coming back over hurdles, so it's hard to read on few of them. But I thought that form behind Goodland probably was a standout here, and with getting £6 from the rest of them, I just thought he was interesting. So I'll be looking forward to how they price him up in the race.
I think you're absolutely spot on. There's a couple in here looking quite exposed. Tagman isn't one of them, and he's obviously getting weight, so has had a nice little freshen up. And you mentioned that run behind Goodland. I think it would definitely have to bring him into the picture, but I have to admit, I would be disappointed now if Grange Clare West, if the real Grange Clare West turns up, if he can't take care of this lot. He was high on many people's list for Ballymore's after his reappearance at Navan. He was off the track for 547 days prior. Obviously, massive run, extremely lightly raced for a 7-year-old. And, I suppose you can say it. I mean, his record fresh is quite good. So obviously, the bit of freshen up, I'm sure, would do him no harm. Grange Clare West, the vets report after the Lawlers at Naas. I mean, he went into that race, went off to send him off 15-8 favourite and was well fancy for the race. Your Champ.ie came out and won the race. But the vets report afterwards was, he was blowing and coughing. So, there was an excuse for that run. They obviously stepped him up and tripped to 2 mile. To the extended 2 mile and 6 at Leopardstown at the Dublin Racing Festival, and that didn't seem to work out. But he was probably on a recovery mission after that. And I just think with a bit of a break, he's a course and distance winner, Townend on board. He's the class horse in the race. For me, Imagine, the Cap of Glory, they look a little bit exposed now at this stage, and you're expecting, or you're hoping, if you're getting involved in Tagman, that he can improve. I think Grange Clare West, on his best form, for me, will take a bit of stopping, and I'd be disappointed if he can't take care of them in the 4:45. I'll be hoping for a little bit of a price as well. I mean, if you got 3-1 or bigger, that would be quite nice on Grange Clare West. I think it's starting to look like a WillieMullins day, Mr. Groome, on Wednesday, and we're on now to the 5:20, where he has Gaelic Warrior, and an all-known form. I mean, he's unexposed coming up to 3 miles. He's £10 clear on ratings. Takes a lot of stopping, doesn't he?
Do you think? I mean, I'm just as to coming up and trip. Doesn't seem an obvious ploy to me. I don't know whether that's Willie just trying to spread out his novices throughout the week, and this fella's going up and trip. I know he was obviously he's juvenile hurdler, running to a decent standard there when he was second in the Boodles, and juvenile hurdlers tend to want to trip, I guess. Eventually, I
thought he needed every yard of it in the Ballymore now, I must say.
Yeah, I mean, that's standout form. Him getting within 7 lengths of Imperi Pa is standout here for sure. I'm just not sure about him to trip, and definitely not sure about taking odds on about him with that in mind as well. I think a 2 in behind in the market, Affordale Fury and Salvador Ziggy, are players here and possibly could be shorter than their prices are now. They're around 6-1 mark. Affordale Fury is second to stay away face. So that's the Albert Bartlett form again. I think that was a big run, a huge step up on anything he's done this season, going up to 3 miles for the first time. And that's, you could argue, I know I'm saying Gaelic Warriors performance behind Imperi Pa is standout, but definitely Affordale Fury's got proven really good form at the trip, and it shouldn't be underrated here. There's lots of horses come back from the Albert Bartlett to run well in this race, like Manila Endo obviously did the double, the nice guy last year. Just because it's 3 miles shouldn't be underrated. Salvador Ziggy as well. He ran a big race in the Per Temps, so he got done by Good Time Johnny. He's probably well in and given a brilliant ride on the day. Lightly raced this season. That was his first run in a long time. He could come on for that, and if he did, he'd definitely be a big player as well. If Gaelic Warrior doesn't stay, he doesn't stay. And he won't be winning. So I wouldn't be touching him odds on for sure.
Yeah, no, I think I had him, I suppose, around the even money mark, and I think if I was getting that, I think that's, or even a little bit bigger. I mean, if you got bigger on the day, I think that's more than fair, because I think essentially what you're backing here, I only see 3 possible winners of the race. I can't be having Embassy Gardens, February the Sham Do, or anything bigger than that. And I think what you're backing with Gaelic Warrior is, does he get the trip? Because he's clear on ratings. That's not to say, I mean, he could even improve for the trip. I mean, if he improves for the trip, he's a right good chance here. He's going the right way around. I think the better ground will suit him. Looking at Affordale Fury, he's always been a horse I've really liked. And I was delighted to see him finish second. In fact, I wasn't, because he went off 150-1 and hadn't a shilling on him. But he finished second in the Albert Bartlett. All his best runs have been on soft ground. And I just wonder, he's had a lot of racing this season. Affordale Fury, for me, Gaelic Warrior is a better animal. And I think what you're backing essentially is, does he get the trip or does he not? And he might potentially improve for stepping up to 3 miles as well. I think going right-handed is obviously key to the horse. On better ground as well is going to suit. Salvador Ziggy can't be having that one now, Ronan. I know he was off the back of a long layoff heading into Cheltenham, into the Pertemps. It was obviously a plot job, but he doesn't have the £7, Aidan Kelly's £7 on this occasion. So I thought that would be a negative in terms of his chances, looking at his official rating of 145. I think he's plenty to find now. Mark Walsh is on board. So I'd be with Gaelic Warrior. I'd be strong on him here. Even money or anything bigger, I think is more than fair about him. So that's Gaelic Warrior. Now, the big one, Mr. Groome, is, of course, the Punchestown Gold Cup. Great that Paul Nicol brings over Brave Man's Game. Harry Cobden on board. Galloping the Champ, it's just really tough to see how the form can be reversed.
Yeah, I would have thought so. Look. Firstly, it's great that Brave Man's Game can run. All the nonsense, I guess, in the lead up with Aintree and that was a bit annoying, I guess, for connections. But it's great that he comes over and Nichols is willing to send him over. He's always punchy enough, Nichols, so no problem sending one over. And obviously won this race before with Clande's Oboe. Look, I guess. You're just wondering how tough a race they all had in the Gold Cup, but I guess there's a lot of time in between that, and for sure I thought Gallop and the Champs outstayed them and outclassed them at Cheltenham. I couldn't have Envoy Alam. It's just not a horse I'm going to be with at all. I don't think he puts it together back to back, and I'm not sure the Ryanair was anywhere near the standard of the Gold Cup. I don't think you're talking 20 lengths back there at least standard. Or pounds even. It's hard to make a case then. Like Hewitt, Hewitt had a perler of a fall. I don't think he's good enough either. Like if Galloping the Champs I could see him running to 80% here, maybe not at his absolute best, and still beating Brave Man's Game. And I'd be worried about Brave Man's Game as well. His form tends to kind of tail off in the spring. His last few runs at Aintree weren't the same standard as he was earlier in the season. So I would just would worry about that as well. So I could have Gallop and the Champ running below par here and still winning comfortably. I'm not going to play the race at all. He's trees on, but I can't see by him. I have to say.
I have to agree with you on that. I mean, looking at his break last season from Cheltenham to Fairyhouse, I think it was a month in the difference. He's obviously had that extra week as well. He's obviously proven that you can go to spring festivals and win. Punchestown 100% record at the course. £8 to find officially. Brave Man's Game for me. He's at all to do. He's plenty on his plate here. Galloping the Champ wins. No bet for me in the race. 6:30 at Punchestown is, of course, the Grade 1 bumper. A Dream to Share. The first and second in the champion bumper came from miles off the pace. It was obviously quite testing conditions for these young horses at Cheltenham. The ground is in his favour, A Dream to Share, but, would you be taking 11 to 8 that he backs it up, Ronan Groome?
I won't be playing the race, but I would have thought he'd be a bit shorter than that sort of price. Like, I know this cliche and all that, and people might get annoyed to hear it, but if he was trained by WillieMullins or Gordon Elliott, would he be a 6-4 shot? Like he's going for the three bumpers here now. I thought he was comfortable winner at Cheltenham to do what he did. He was very, very good at the line, well on top there. Patrick Mullins has decided to ride Tully Hill, so it's an early kind of half for it's not a great vote of confidence for the horses that were beaten at Cheltenham. He's gone for this more unexposed type, and is he not an odds-on shot here? A slight odds-on shot. He's as I said, well on top of Cheltenham, beaten a good few of these already. A couple of them that didn't run at Cheltenham don't look up to it either. And it's Tully Hill, I guess, is the unknown quantity, but has to step up big time on what he's done so far. And I just thought, 6-4 looked 11 to 8, so looked all right to me.
It was absolutely mighty, Tully Hill, as you quite rightly said. Obviously, it's a massive step up, but the one. This has the look of a dirty each way race for me, Mr. Groome, as Dream to Share has been to 2 big festivals now. Very impressive. I thought it was a real tough race at Cheltenham. It was quite testing, as I said, for these young horses. We've seen horses go to Cheltenham and come back to Punchestown and get beaten in this particular race. So one that I'm going to take a chance on, just at a bigger price here each way. There's 9 to 1 available about Western Diego, and this is a horse I cannot wait to see next year over obstacles. But I thought he shaped with plenty of promise. Not too many, I suppose, finished the champion bumper that were up there the whole way throughout. And he was. And he led them to the furlong pole. And I thought he shaped lovely in the race. He was obviously coming into the champion bumper off the back of just one run over Naas, or at Naas, over 2 mile and 3 furlong. So I thought he stepped up massively on that. He finished 7th in the champion bumper. He just weakened in the final furlong. He probably over-raced.
He actually got a fair wallop now, in fairness to him, just as he was there in the straight, and he got hampered badly, in fairness.
He got squeezed. He was probably beaten at the time. Yeah, he was probably beaten at the time, but I do agree with you. He did get a bit of a wallop. He led them to the furlong pole, as I mentioned. Derek O'Connor is obviously booked, which I think is interesting for a Mullins runner. And yeah, I just think this is obviously only his 3rd run in his life. He's a 6-year-old. He's that year older as well. I just think he's a very good horse, and I cannot wait to see him next year.
He needs to settle, I guess, doesn't it? And that's the big thing.
It is, but it's a smaller field here. It's obviously we're going from 20 odd runners down to 9 runners, and I think it's the perfect opportunity for an each way play on Western Diego here, and I think he can go well in what is the Grade 1 bumper at 6:30, 7:05. Mr. Groome is the handicap chase, 9 runners, smaller fields than I thought it would be, actually, looking at the race conditions. Royal Rendezvous is in here off top weight, won the race last season off £5 higher, but doesn't get the vote of confidence from Paul Town, and he rides a Hador here, who's 3-1, market leader with Boylesports. Do you like one in here?
I do like one. In fairness, I do like Hador. I think he's the right favourite for sure.
Do you like the way I'm thinking?
No, it's not that. I'll get onto it now in a second. But Hador, he was 11-night winner earlier on the season at Fairyhouse. He beat the Gopher, and that was a really good race. Obviously, the Gopher went on and won well. Marble de Cersei was 3rd. Max Charm was 4th. They've all gone well since, or elevated that form to an extent. Now, since then, Hador's trying to play his trade at 2 miles, and just probably not fast enough. Coming back up to 2.5 here, I think he could be well handicapped off a mark of 140, or at least progress by that mark. The one I like, though, I just thought was overpriced, was Gallant John Joe here for Oliver McKiernan. He had the little pipe opener over hurdles at the course last time. He was second to a horse called Verdun Place there. That's good form. He's £6 lower than when he was 4th at Birchdale last year at the Dublin Racing Festival. Only 9 runs over fences, so he's not hugely over raced or anything like that. I just thought this has been a bit of a plot for them. They give him a little run over hurdles. He probably ran better than they thought he would. And he hasn't won over fences yet, but he does have 3 wins over hurdles, so I don't have him down as like a horse who doesn't win or always gets placed like that. Like you could kind of get the impression with him. But I just think he's nicely handicapped now. He had a little pipe open over hurdles. He goes well at Punchestown, and at 12-1, I just thought he was a little bit overpriced. So that was my bet for the race.
I can certainly see your angle with Gallant John Joe, but I thought you were going to like the way I was thinking, because that's exactly who I've gone with here. Gavin Cromwell's runner, JP McManus, owned, and just on the Hador. Obviously, he's the handicap debutant. He could improve massively. First time up in a handicap here, and could be well treated. But I like the way you're thinking. For me, he's a pound lower over fences than his hurdles mark. I thought he shaped with plenty of promise now, and with the blinkers on for the first time. Was up there, was handy throughout, jumped well at Leopardstown on his most recent outing, had been running over 3 miles over hurdles at the start of the year. So he's been very gently campaigned. And talking about plots, I said this could be a plot as well. And off 135, I mean, his mark was unchanged for finishing 3rd of 9 behind Lieutenant Command at Leopardstown.
Yeah, I will just correct you there, Basil. About 4 finished that race. It absolutely fell apart in between. A load of horses disappointed, fell, unseated, and it was only 4 who finished the race. I do like the horse. I just thought that race fell apart.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Just looking at the way the way he shaped through the race, he's obviously £5 better off with Lieutenant Command, who will be on many people's shortlist for the race as well. The Jigginstown runner, who's 9-2. I just thought he could reverse form with him. And yeah, I think there could be scope off his mark of 135, and he's a low weight as well. I mean, he carries 10 stone 6 and will handle the ground. And just looking as well, all 4 of his wins has been right-handed. I like the way you're thinking. So seems to go a little bit better when he is going right-handed. So, yeah, not over race for a 9-year-old. I'm going to go, I like the way you're thinking, in the 7:05. 7:45, Ronan Groome's worst nightmare. 13 runners, all mares that can improve in a bumper. Give us the winner.
I'm not a race I'm going to be tackling. I know my colleague is a big fan of this June to Marvel, Mark Boyle, I work with in the Irish field. He's put it up as one of his horses to follow for the festival. Won at Limerick first time out. But Patrick's not riding her. He's on his one, fun. I guess he would probably ride her anyway, seeing as he bred her. So that might be has swayed him towards that way, whatever the case may be. But she was pretty disappointing at Cheltenham. So I don't know. I'm sure you might have a fancy here, but I certainly don't.
Not a major fancy once again. Jamie Collins booked for John McConnell's Bowl Reflection, who has been off the track for 121 days, but I thought the form worked out quite well. She obviously bet Cool Cherry by 7 lengths, who subsequently just finished second to Halka Du Tiber, who went on to finish 3 lengths behind the winner in the Mayor's Novices Hurdle. So I just thought through those form lines, Bold Reflection, I thought she was very, very good. She was very impressive. She bolted up on soft to heavy ground at Limerick on Stevens's day. And yeah, cod riding for John McConnell, I thought she was, of the ones that probably are likely to be short in the market, I thought she was high on my list.
Cod is a good book in there for sure. For McConnell to get him is a good sign as well.
Yeah, like she came from the point-to-point scene as well, was third and second in 2 point-to-points, and obviously took a big step forward on the race course to win by 7 lengths ahead of Cool Cherry at Limerick. So, Mr. Groome, that concludes episode number 49, would you believe it, of the season. We've done this in less than a half an hour, Mr. Groome. All the viewers, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so. And of course, like the video and let us know your selections down below. All 8 races up on screen, 3 winners or more, and you go into the draw for a €20 free bet with courtesy of our sponsors, Boylesports. So do let us know your selections down below. Of course, the engagement has been fantastic on the first video. We'll see how the results get on. Of course, Punchestown Day 1 today, Ronan Groome, as we're recording Day 2. Looking forward to it?
Very much so. Very much so, yeah. Good racing. As we said yesterday, tricky heat, but looking forward to seeing the likes of Energumene out again. And yeah, we'll see. We'll get into it now. We'll start moving. The week will start moving pretty quickly now.
Absolutely. Look forward to recording Day 3, Mr. Groome.
Inside the final 150 yards, this is a special year, and it's a Hattons full of grace. And it's Energumene opening up a clear advantage in the closing stages. A breath of fresh air over fences is going to stay at the helm of the 2 mile novices. Energumene by...
Download the Boylesports app and receive generous offers for new and existing customers. Boylesports, this is betting.